So this is the most viral story right now, and you have to see this. Mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, went on Fox and is doubling down on his dangerous rhetoric against ICE officials and his defense of the people that they are arresting, making this narrative, and you've heard this from Tim Walz, you've heard this from Ilhan Omar, that those that ICE are arresting are just normal, upstanding citizens. They're people that have done nothing wrong. I have the receipts, and you're going to want to watch till the end, but this interview on Fox and Friends with Jacob Frey is literally going to make your blood boil. You have to see what he said.
The city of Minneapolis has been in focus as protests break out after the deadly ICE-involved shooting last week. We've all seen this video of the moment it all played out. Let's watch.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Whoa! Let's bring in now Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. In the immediate aftermath of that shooting, this was your response. Watch.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
In hindsight, Mr. Mayor, was that the appropriate response?
I stand by exactly what I said, and to be clear, what I was responding to was an immediate conclusion that had been drawn by the federal government where they said, one, the ICE agent was acting in self-defense, and then shortly thereafter saying that the victim was a domestic terrorist. We need to be doing everything possible right now to have a full and fair investigation, and my deep concern is when the conclusion is drawn by the government that's actually doing the investigation itself, it's much harder to trust the investigation. We need to make sure that the American people can earn and gain that trust. And yes, I think there's deep concerns with having exclusively the FBI and not our Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at the state level conducting the investigation itself. This is an entity.
I have to jump in here because, you know, Jacob Frey, again, you have to continue watching some of this, but I'm going to address this point that he just made. He wants state level law enforcement and investigators to do the proper investigation, according to him, on this ICE shooting. These are the same investigators, auditors, and prosecutors who've been letting criminals out of jail, who've been propagating this fraud that's happening. And keep in mind, the top law enforcement officer, the AG Ellison, well, he's under investigation as well for audio leaks that happened. Well, AG Ellison, the top law enforcement officer for Minnesota, he's presently under investigation by the Department of Justice and the FBI for leaked audio recordings where he was taking and aligning political donations from his campaign with people that were ripping off the COVID funds just a couple years ago. Again, this is alleged because the investigation is still going on, but these are the people that Jacob Frey would rather replace, right, the FBI and the Department of Justice with, those people, the people that couldn't stop the fraud in Minnesota in the first place.
That has police officers and law enforcement and attorneys, people that have deep experience in investigating cases involving an officer-involved shooting. And by the way, they've come to conclusions and investigated cases that have resulted in charges and a lack thereof. And so, you know, our pitch is, look, none of us should hide from the facts here. And if we're not hiding from them, then let's make sure it's a full and fair investigation.
And would you agree that no one should be jumping at conclusions until we have that investigation, and then we'll find out what facts can come to light?
Well, I'm grateful that I'm not the one investigating this, nor is the city of Minneapolis. And when you have the secretary working at the federal government saying immediately that this was an action of self-defense, when you have the federal government booting the state government from the process entirely, yeah, there's concerns associated with that. I mean, look, we've all seen the video. I don't need to pass judgments here on it. But what I do know, and this is the bottom line, is look, I may have.
Just do yourself a favor here, because again, I need to jump in every now and then because my blood pressure is going through the roof. This is the Gavin Newsom of the Midwest. It just dawned on me when you're watching him with his hand motions and how he paces himself and how he stresses certain words. This guy has bigger aspirations. This is going to be, or he's trying to position himself to be, the hero of the progressives, right? Leading the charge against ICE. You're gonna see this guy's name down the road. There's no doubt, if he can get away from the investigations that are pointed at Minneapolis right now. But as you're listening, obviously you need to hear what he's saying in this interview, but look at his mannerisms. This is Gavin Newsom.
Disagreements with some people that are part of your audience, but I hope that people can trust that I love my city. We are experiencing an extraordinary comeback. Crime is down in virtually every category, in virtually every neighborhood. Small businesses were opening, and this whole chaos that's taking place, yeah, it's setting us back. And so my ask is simple. Let us have that beautiful rebound. Let's keep the safety improvements going. Let's keep these small businesses opening. And right now, it's getting hard because, yeah, you've got people that are afraid to go into work. Schools have shut down. I mean, we've only had 2 shootings as of recent in the city this year, and one of them...
Again, he just let something come in here, and if you haven't seen the news articles, all of the city schools and surrounding neighborhoods as well to Minneapolis, their schools have been shut down. Why? Why? There's no reason to. But this is, again, this is that famous Democrat saying, never let a tragedy or chaos slip by. They're going to take advantage of this because they want to have that narrative that this is so dangerous and so disruptive that they have to pull their children out of school. It has nothing to do with what ICE is doing. In fact, what ICE is doing has everything to do with why those kids should be in school, because ICE is keeping the streets safe. You have more law enforcement officers driving those roads right now, Mayor, than you've ever had before. These streets are safe. Get those children back in school.
Was the ICE situation that you just pointed out.
Would you agree, Mr. Mayor? You ask ICE to get the F out of your city. Here's the little secret. ICE, I'm sure, would like to not have to be doing the surge operations, but because of 4 years under the President Biden administration, you had an unprecedented number of illegal migrants coming across the border. Many of them turned out to be criminal illegal aliens, and now they're going after those individuals.
This is where he's going to struggle.
We can show you just a litany of, scores of illegal criminal aliens that have been apprehended in the past few days that have included everyone from murders to sex assault of minors. These individuals were roaming free in your city because your policies do not cooperate with detainers, and so ICE is then going to get these.
So I'm going to pause this because you have to see this. These are some of the worst of the worst. So any of your liberal friends or family members who are trying to say a narrative that the mayor is as well, that ICE is arresting and deporting just normal people and grandmas and children. Look at the list. Look at the list here of people that have been swept up so far, and the list is much more exhaustive. I have some names as well that I'm going to show you and some of what they were accused of doing and convicted of. It will make your blood boil. The worst of the worst: convicted of homicide, a version of assault that I'm not allowed to say here on YouTube, right? DUI, another version of assault that I'm not allowed to talk about on YouTube, another version of violent assault that I'm not allowed to talk on YouTube. 3 homicides in the bottom left. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I want you to remember this. If this is what the Democrats have as their talking point, this is the hill that they want to die on, they're going to get demolished in the midterms, because this is what America has woken up to. We're tired of it. We put Donald Trump back in office to take care of this. Joe Biden obviously didn't. And when you look at this list, burn it into your memory, because these aren't grandmas and children. These are hardened criminals. And they're making, ICE that is making the streets in Minneapolis much safer every hour.
People off the street. You would agree that the streets are safer without these individuals on your streets?
Look, in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, we are anti-murder, we are anti-crime, we are for improving the safety wherever we can. And by the way, we have worked with administrations, both present and past, to drive down crime. We've worked with the DEA, the ATF, the FBI to prosecute and charge violent crime. We've worked to get perpetrators of violent gun crime off the street.
He completely is dodging the point. In the last 10 days, those individuals that were just on the screen, and I will show you many more, these are the worst of the worst. Why aren't you worried, or why aren't you celebrating, rather, Mayor, on having these people get out of the country and get out of your city? Should be. You're not answering the question. You're just doing this generalities talk, right? You're Gavin Newsom Jr. at this point. You should be embarrassed of yourself and ashamed, because the people that you're trying to defend are hardened criminals that shouldn't have been here in the first place. They've been ransacking Minneapolis, and you're sitting here doubling down on the message that ICE is breaking the Constitution, making Minneapolis unsafer and causing chaos to the point where you have to close schools. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Off the street. In fact, the work that was conducted was so successful, it resulted in the lowest number of shootings on record on, for instance, the North Side. We are willing to work with people when it's about murder and when it's about crime. But the truth is that this ain't about that.
When's the last time you had a mayor defend a quadrant, a portion of the city that they're the mayor for, and saying, well, on these 5 streets in the northern quadrant versus the western quadrant, crime is down? Mayor Frey, you're a joke, and you're pathetic, because what you're trying to do is to parse an argument, and this argument is about safety. This is one of the pillars of what Donald Trump ran on, making America safe again. He's trying to do that to Minneapolis, and you should be thanking him.
If this were about that, we'd have many important areas where there would be areas where we could work together. This, however, is the largest immigration enforcement action on record in the United States. And so I would just ask you, why is the largest scale immigration enforcement action taking place where we don't even have that many undocumented immigrants? Why would it not take place in Texas or Florida or Utah, where you do actually have those large numbers of undocumented immigrants? Because that's where it would actually make more sense. But again, if the issue is murder or crime, the answer is...
Keep in mind, just again for those of you scoring at home, that there's over $9 billion under an investigation right now by the IRS, the Department of Justice, and the FBI, pointed directly at Minneapolis and Minnesota proper for fraud. Right? 90% of the individuals that were committing Medicaid fraud, COVID fraud, and home health care fraud were Somalis. So you're wondering why we're there, Mayor Frey? We're there to keep your street safer. There are hardened criminals that we've been getting. And this is also ground zero for what would be the largest fraud in American history on public services. So yeah, there is a good reason for them to be there, and they're going to be there until they get the job done.
We do work with the federal government. In fact, we're presently doing that. We're presently doing this.
Texas,
so the truth is, it's not about murder or crime. It's not.
You mentioned Texas and Florida. You just had a surge in Louisiana, and you didn't see any of the commotion that you are seeing now in your city, because all of those states fully cooperate with ICE detainers. Just look at some of the videos, Mayor Frey, that we have seen of these protesters, many of whom you have praised. You've called them heroes for being out there exercising their First Amendment rights, but they've gone farther. They're blocking the ICE operations. They're impeding. Take a look at some of the videos. You've seen these.
I'm happy to look at videos. I've seen it happening live.
Watch this.
So, do you want?
Shame on you! Shame!
Jacob Frey is okay with this. In fact, he's encouraging it. It's always the white liberal women, isn't it?
That's just a sampling of it. You're seeing it in real time. You are aware that 18 U.S. Code 111 makes it a federal crime to impede, interfere, or even assault officers. And we see the protesters crossing a line of protesting, throwing rocks, hitting cars, and interfering in the federal government's view of their operation of carrying out federal immigration law enforcement.
We have had perhaps tens of thousands of people peacefully protesting in the streets. And at the same time, yeah, they are going to stand up for their neighbors. And what we are seeing time and time again is unconstitutional conduct by ICE. ICE is not new. Our separation ordinance in the city is not new. ICE has been around for decades, so has our separation ordinance. What is new? What is new is the way that the Trump administration is presently conducting themselves. Now, again, if this were about murder, or we do have a lawsuit. Let's talk about that.
So legal analysts, not just on Fox News, on CNN and other networks, are saying that this holds no water. There's no basis for it. You're telling me here on Fox News that you support law enforcement removing murderers and rapists. So what's with the lawsuit?
Well, because what is happening right now through ICE is not about getting rid of murderers. What we see right now is discrimination taking place only on the basis of race. Are you Latino or are you Somali? And then
there has been not one documented case in Minneapolis in the last 2 weeks. Not one, because if there was one, he'd say it. Not one where ICE detain an American citizen, somebody that is here legally. Again, pay attention. If there was even one instance of that on record, he'd be mentioning it right now, and he's not.
And it is indiscriminate thereafter. In other words, they are pulling people off the streets. They have pulled U.S. citizens off the streets. And you don't need to take my word for it. At this point, this has been very well documented. And
where
you
is
don't
it?
need to take my word for it. Listen to Trump. Trump himself is saying that this is about retribution. He's saying that there is a reckoning and a...
Look how fast he dropped that talking point and didn't provide any truth, right? Any facts. This is where facts trump feelings, Jacob Frey. If you had proof that ICE was doing this, detaining American citizens illegally, during this within this sweep, why didn't you mention one case? You say it's well documented. We've heard that BS before. Give us the facts. This was your opportunity to talk to America, getting on Fox, right? One of the largest stages. And you couldn't provide facts, but you're going to have that talking point because you and the rest of the progressive left love to have these feelings and this narrative that ICE is doing something illegal and wrong when they're not, and you know it.
Retribution that is coming. And so, again, if this were
Pivot
about
to Trump
murder
too.
or rape
or
crime or
predictable.
fraud, then, look, we have worked together, not just with the Biden administration, with the past Trump administration, with the Bush administration. Right. We have worked with a number of different administrations to successfully drive down crime.
President
This
Trump,
is not
Mr. Mayor,
about that. And so
secured the
yes,
border,
sir.
which is what he ran on. Do you give him credit for securing that border? Now he is going through the interior with ICE operations to remove the criminal illegal aliens that came in that open border of the previous administration. I think at the end of the day, let me get you on record if I can, Mr. Mayor. Do you support abolishing ICE?
I do not support abolishing ICE. However, I
That's not going to go over
absolutely
well with
oppose
this
the way
progressive dinner
that this
party.
administration is conducting themselves with us. Look, there are a number of entities presently, agencies
But
at the
isn't that
federal
what your
government
lawsuit is about,
that are
stopping ICE
conducting
right now?
themselves. No, you should read the lawsuit. The lawsuit says that, hey, you know, ICE doing ICE stuff is not what we're talking about right now. Again, we've had ICE in our city before. We've had ICE in our state before. It is the fact that, look, right now, there's about 3,000 federal ICE agents in our city between ICE and Border Control. You know how many police officers that we have? 600.
Right.
The kind of duress that our city is experiencing because of this is magnified. Again, crime has been down. This is not helping. Chaos has been dramatically increased by the way that these ICE operations.
By the way, I'm going to stop this for a second. I'm going to put a link up above because he just said one of the trigger words. There's a coordinated campaign behind the Democrats. This is their midterm strategy, and he's propagating it exactly to a T right now. So check out this link up above on the word chaos and the Democrat strategy for the midterms in 2028. Or I'm sorry, the big one, but the midterm here that's coming up in 10 months. Jacob Frey, make no mistake, that word that he just dropped, chaos, that was purposeful. He was told to do it. And I have the receipts. Check out the link up above.
Are taking place, and we are looking for ways to keep this city safe. I hope that people, especially viewing, can understand that we want to keep this city safe. This is not accomplishing it by any standard.
I appreciate your viewpoint. I want to get a question in and respect your time on fraud. But lastly, just one last one. You mentioned President Trump. So he is threatening to pull funding from sanctuary jurisdictions
February 1st
that have policies such as Minneapolis. Your reaction?
We have a separation ordinance in the city, and you know what that ordinance says? It says that I want our limited numbers of police officers focusing on keeping people safe, arresting perpetrators of violent crimes, stopping car thefts from taking.
By the way, these police officers, the 600 that you're talking about, Mayor Frey, why weren't they arresting those people that ICE just swept? And I'm going to show you some more that will absolutely make your blood boil here in just a minute. So be sure to stay tuned to watch here. But Mayor Frey, why didn't your police officers get that guy that had triple homicide? That was a good one to catch. You knew exactly where he lived because ICE went directly to him. What about all those other individuals that were perpetrating some of the most heinous crimes against children? Why didn't you target them? See, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, get out, we can police our own, when clearly some of the worst of the worst have been walking your streets. We've been dragnetting them up, and now you have a problem with it, saying, get out, we can take care of our own. Not going to happen, Mayor Frey. And by the way, where they're going here, on February 1st, you're losing your federal funding, and you should. Because if you're going to propagate and encourage this kind of chaos, as you say, you don't deserve one federal dollar. One. And you're getting it pulled on February 1st. Good luck. Good luck with what you have to do, right? And committing to the people of Minneapolis to keep those streets safe and all those social services where the fraud has been happening. Good luck without the help of everybody else, myself included, that doesn't live in Minneapolis, because you ain't getting our money anymore.
That's what I want them focusing on. You know what I don't want them focusing on? Hunting down a dad that just dropped his kids off at daycare, is about to go work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Ecuador. That guy makes our city a better place. So again, if we're talking about arresting violent criminals, Minneapolis does not oppose that, but that's not what is taking place.
So again, You're going to want to see the next minute and a half here. This is critical because what Mayor Frey just did is he's doubling down on this narrative, and the story that he just said is complete BS. And your blood should be boiling right now because he just used the example of an Ecuadorian guy that's just dropping his children off at school and ICE swept him up. Pay attention to the Ecuadorian connection and to that Latin American connection to what Griff is about to ask Mayor Frey, because he has no answer for what's coming.
In the streets of our city, people who are American citizens.
I appreciate the compassion.
I want to say this again. American citizens are being taken off our streets right now, and I hope any American citizen out there can understand how concerning that is.
I appreciate
freedom.
your
We
compassion.
should be about freedom in this country. We should be about liberty. And when you are an American citizen that is being picked up by a federal agent of any administration, we should all be saying, you know what, let's take a beat, let's think this through. Maybe this isn't right.
There's two sides to this story. You mentioned an Ecuadorian migrant. Are you familiar with Victoria Eileen Harwell? An Ecuadorian illegal immigrant in August of 2024, driving drunk, crashed head-on into Victoria Harwell, killing her. Her 14-year-old daughter survived, and her sister. ICE released her, local Hennepin County released her not once but twice and didn't cooperate with ICE detainers. Why not? Since you're in favor of removing them, cooperate with ICE. Whether you have this sanctuary policy that the DHS says it is, you call it a separation ordinance. Why not just cooperate and make it safer for everyone involved? The community, the officers, and even the migrants.
My position here is pretty straightforward, and that's this. If you commit a crime, if you commit fraud, if you commit a carjacking or a murder, you should be investigated, charged, prosecuted, held accountable, and yes, arrested and put in jail. That is my position if you commit a crime and you are a problem on the streets of the city of Minneapolis that has made us less safe. What I am saying is that a lot of the people that ICE is picking up right now in our city are not a problem for Minneapolis. They've opened businesses. They've been here for longer than I've been here. They contribute so beautifully and greatly to our city. They have families here. They're our neighbors, and yeah, we love them. We love them and we care about them. And I hope that people throughout the country can understand that, we got to be thinking about other people as if it were ourselves. What would we do in these situations? How would we handle ourselves? And, we care deeply about our immigrant population. We care deeply about everybody in our city. And what we're seeing right now is the kind of chaos that is being caused by this massive influx of ICE agents isn't helpful.
So now we're going to take a moment because as Mayor Frey just did a beautiful job, completely lying to your face, right? Saying that these are beautiful neighbors and productive members of society. Let me show you the receipts that I came up with on some of the individuals that are being caught up in the dragnet that ICE has had. So this is just a sampling of some of the people that Jacob Frey didn't want to tell you about that were caught by ICE in the last 7 days in Minneapolis, right? We see this gentleman Herndon up here at the top, a criminal, right, from Mexico, totally skipped his final order to remove himself. Well, I'm not even going to say this, but look at what this gentleman was doing, right? That's just a real sweetheart. This gentleman, right, Sarudam, he, again, skipped his deportation order, incidentally, during Joe Biden's term. He was, again, I can't say half of this stuff because it's just horrendous. It's horrendous. But I'm going to let your eyes do the work here, right? Strong arm, you know what, of a boy. Strong arm, you know what, of a girl. Aggravated, you know what, 9 counts of larceny. Man, he's just a real nice guy. He's probably dropping his kids off at school. Oh, he's into drugs, unauthorized use of a vehicle, 4 counts of fraud. I mean, this guy, he's just great. And Jacob Frey, you're defending this guy at this point when you have an issue with what ICE is doing. But here's a nice guy. Again, skipped his deportation order. Oh, wow, I can't say that. Strong arm, you know what? Strong arm, aggravated assault against a family member, aggravated assault with a weapon, additional things that I can't say, and more things that I can't say. I mean, this guy just sounds like somebody you should invite over for Thanksgiving, right? But it gets worse because, again, these aren't the only ones. Look at some of the list of the individuals that were caught up in the operation by ICE. Here's just again, scan it, guys. Convicted of a terrible thing with, again, it makes my blood boil. Makes my blood boil. How anybody, let alone a mayor of a major city, could justify defending these individuals and justify defending or demonizing anybody who wants these individuals off their streets. By the way, there's more. I got more. There's more. I mean, the story's deep. The story's deep, and they're none of them are good people. None of them. Here's a manslaughter with a vehicle, 2 counts of DUI, larceny. I mean, this guy Ahmed, I mean, he's just a run-of-the-mill terrible person. Terrible. Druggie up here. Homicide here. Again, I have more. I think my point is my point. And these are the people that Jacob Frey is defending. So he's doubling down as the mayor of Minneapolis, you just heard, on his message that Ecuadorian fathers are taking their children to school, and these aren't hardened criminals that are being targeted by ICE. It's a lie. He's also propagating the Democrat midterm messaging of chaos. Chaos in the streets. We just want peace and serenity. And Donald Trump, the orange guy, the bad guy, and his Gestapo, right? That's what Tim Walz was calling them. Well, they're causing this chaos in what would be otherwise very calm and very peaceful streets. These are the streets with the individuals that I just showed you. They've been walking. So Minnesota is safer today, right? Because of what Donald Trump's ICE agents are doing. That's a fact. The other fact is that Jacob Frey has no defense in encouraging the types of demonstrations that have been happening. It's a federal offense, and he had nothing to say to that. Nothing. He had nothing to say to the fact, right, with that Ecuadorian that plowed over the mother and her child with a DUI conviction. Jacob Frey doesn't care. Doesn't care. Because at all costs, he has to defend the progressive message. That is, because he has higher designs and bigger designs for where he wants to go. And you can see that in his mannerisms as well. He's talking just like Gavin Newsom. Just like it. He's just the Gavin Newsom of the Midwest. So this is the message that the progressives are running on. This is also a message that America is done with. That we stand for what Donald Trump is doing, and we support ICE taking people like I just showed you off of the streets in our major cities and towns. Period. That's what we voted for by a landslide. And Jacob Frey, Tim Walz, A.G. Ellison, and Ilhan Omar, all of you obviously should be having a grand old time with the investigations that you're presently under. You should be lawyering up, because defending the indefensible is what you, right now, are being shown to America on. This is your message. You should be ashamed of yourself, because we deserve better, and Minneapolis deserves better leaders than Jacob Frey. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you've yet to subscribe to America First Alerts, please do so. We have stories just like this every single day, where we're bringing you the news that matters right to your inbox. And if you have yet to do it, please like this video. And again, leave a comment down below. What do you think of Jacob Frey's doubling down message on the Ecuadorian fathers dropping their children off at school, and that it's anything but hardened criminals that ICE is targeting? I'll see you in the next video.
We won!
Okay, let's go.
We won!